I'm Debra Wallace, licensed marriage and family therapist. My positive reframe today is going to be on my cancer diagnosis. And I want to stress that it's my cancer diagnosis, and as everybody is different, there's no possible way that I want to stress that what I'm describing is my personal thoughts, feelings, and how I'm seeing through this is unique to my lived experience. And I have a master's degree in human development and family studies. I wanted to be a doctor, so I definitely love to read about the science in the human body and been providing therapy for nearly 25 years, working with many bodies under stress and enduring trauma and some of the worst case scenarios. And then even before I had all this experience as a therapist, I was that little girl that was on my hands and knees praying, trying to understand why there is so much suffering in this world. And so that is what it got me to want to go into this field, as I've kind of had this voice that just kind of is just insatiable, wanting to find out what this is, to help us elevate and promote maximal human potential and healing and love and safety. I aim to be a light and a bridge between dark and light. So that is what I'm taking into this recent diagnosis that I just got on May 27th, 2025. In the ultimate reframe on it is that, you get a cancer diagnosis, it can very much feel like a death sentence. I think we all know somebody who has been touched by cancer and has died from it. If you haven't, lucky you. I have had many, but I think we all have. And so I think it's very natural and normal that that's going to come to the surface. Yet my reframe on it is that I just have this knowing that it is not here to kill me. It is here to serve and to empower me to live my most authentic and fullest life. And a positive reframe on health expressions, being sick. I encourage you looking at that one, because that kind of goes a little bit in a more general direction, how we can apply this. That is exactly what I'm going to use this opportunity, as it is signaling something that needs my attention. And I follow from the works of Louise Hayes, where she professes that she healed cancer holistically, and she has a list of when ailments are affecting different parts, what it might symbolize. And again, it's unique. I always say everybody's different, so it's really important that it resonates for you and matches you on this journey. So I'll be doing a lot of that inner work. And then another TED Talk I listened to about 5 years ago was Dying to Be Me by Anita Morani, and her story really blew me out of the water. Just dying to be me, I think. And her book that I just read about 2 years ago is phenomenal. And especially being a female, there's a tendency to be the people pleaser, the peacekeeper, the caretaker, not wanting to upset anybody, and really keeping our voices quiet and down and not expressing ourselves. And I think that's a very global journey, but I know for me intrinsically, that is something I've struggled with, and it's why I love my profession. I love what I get to do. That's why I actually started doing these more, because I've also had this voice, this knowing that so much that I want to share and speak in. And so I'm really getting to use this opportunity to give myself permission to be me, and really slow down and practice what I preach, amped up. And whenever I'm working with anyone, I talk about that it's really important to lean into the messiness and the uncomfortable feelings. I call my business positive reframe, not that to be positive all the time, because that can also, anything good can also become toxic, but that it's actually being positive about also being negative. And so to receive a diagnosis like this, and it can bring a lot of emotions, and there's layers to grief and loss, and I'm calm right now. I've said it out loud enough times right now, but it's to make it real, to accept it, because we the only way through is through. But I want to assure you that I have moments of crying and confusion and what now, and I need all the resources that I could get, and I am using them. And I'm listening to my mind, my body, my spirit, my nervous system, seeing what it's going to need to this, because as I mentioned, I'm really confident that I know this is here. Faith is really confident. And I want to share when I was getting why I know that I can trust this knowing also. When I was called back to get a thorough assessment, and they do all these pictures, and then they say if they're still not satisfied with pictures, then you're going to do an ultrasound, and if they're not satisfied with the ultrasound results, then you're going to have a biopsy. And I remember laying after I was having the ultrasound, and I had this unbelievably clear voice that just came and said, "You will need the biopsy. You have cancer. Go live." And it was eerie. It was just so clear. I think because I'll often talk about intuition and figuring out what's our gut feeling, what's intuition versus what is fear based. And often when we'll know that it's fear based, when it's kind of spirally and it's chaotic or it's really rigid, that's kind of when we'll know we're in fear. Whereas my voice was so clear, and it was, and no one else heard it obviously, but and then it came again. And as I was laying doing the ultrasound, and the doctor offered to, if I wanted to sit up to talk about the next step, and that voice came again and said, "Nope, stay laying. You need the biopsy. Just lay down." And I was like, wow. And then when we finished it, I felt like they were being extra kind to me. I have to say, I loved care in New Zealand. It's empowering. It's nurturing. They give you consent. They really meet you where you're at. So it's really, that's been my experience. And so when she offered that, and I said, and so then after we go through that, we have biopsy, and then she says, "Oh," and then they're like, we'll book, you'll be in to have to go over the results and talk about treatment." And she said that twice, and that stayed with me, because unfortunately there was a holiday. Usually you'd get the results in a week, but there was a holiday, so I had to wait 2 weeks. And even though I have so many tools and even though I always help everyone, what's the worst case scenario? Worst case scenario is cancer and i.e. death. You don't know what stage you have at that point. So, and so I encourage whenever we have a dressing scenario to just give yourself permission to process and identify the worst case scenario, and then comfort yourself for at that state, because that's really scary. And we all do it. We Google everything, you look at everything. And so I gave myself permission, and in my life I've done a positive reframe video on death as well, because I've had significant losses, and so I already come every day knowing that death is just a knock away, and every day is a gift. And so I bring that into my day, knowing that life is precious. So I ran that through, and it just kind of cranks that up again. Like, okay, wow. Okay. If that's the case, then it's just going to give me more permission to do the things that I've been wanting to do, and to stop the things that are eating me up inside, that is draining me, that do not feel good to me. And then the other fear that I have as a mother is leaving this world, this violent, what I perceive is a very chaotic, violent, unsafe, unloving world. That's been my other hard pill to swallow in my life. And so that's why every day, this is why I do what I do, because I want to create and put out ripples of love, and promote a world of safety, and promoting connection and peace. so that when I die, that is the world my children will have, and if and they have that inside of them, and so that I've addressed those fears, and then visualize what you hope to happen. And so I would visualize best case scenarios, and it was interesting. Even as I was playing out the best case scenarios, I was saying, I don't, best case scenario is not cancer, but that voice came again. You have cancer. There, that. So, what's the best case scenario? That it's treatable. I heal. I recover. And so ultimately, the best case scenario of the worst case has occurred. I am, stage 1, grade 1. It is the least aggressive, and I at this point won't need chemo. So again, that's why you can't compare. I can say where I'm at because of my data, and I had some other variables that were favorable at this point. And so that's where I can be where I'm at. And I can feel very confident um, with how this will unfold. And I know that what I need to learn from this, because I'm human, I still have weeks, I still have 2 lessons to learn, that I will learn them. And I'm very curious how that goes. And I thank you all for listening. Please, subscribe, follow, share. It would be really helpful in my healing journey to get more of my word out. And as I'll need some time off of my one-on-one sessions as I heal and recover, but the more that I can put out things and help me thrive, so that I can keep sharing and empowering everyone else that's in my life. Take wonderful care.